There are many more styles on this LP than on the previous LP, The Cost of Loving. Was this a conscious decision, or just the way the songs naturally came together?
They come about naturally because the styles are predetermined by the songs, and so we just try and gear everything around to whatever the song requires, what the kind of feel it suggests immediately.
Right.
To one.
What, the music?
Yeah.
This is like the first co-production, isn't it, that you and Mick have undertaken. Why did you feel it was important that you produced this album yourselves and you didn't go to another producer?
So that we didn't have too many rows. Whenever we've had producers, things have come to a head because we've had such a clear idea of what's going to go down.
Is it because the songs are quite personalised in a way that you felt it was important to produce it yourselves, or what?
No, it's just what Mick said. You always, I think almost inevitably, you come into conflict with a producer if they've got very straight, strong ideas, and you have as well. And you can just do without that kind of aggravation in the studio. And also, I'm against a lot of these producers on a financial basis as well, because I think, you know, for what they do, or what they don't do, the amount of money they get paid is outrageous.
What, do you think they're overrated producers?
I don't think they are if they come in and the band's got no ideas. They've got like 3 chords and 2 sentences or something strung together.
Right.
I won't name names, but you know. So I think, like Jam and Lewis, I think obviously earn their money because they must just take the whole thing and they just build it and it's their thing. You might as well call it Jam and Lewis Records. But for us it's slightly different because, you know, A, we write our own material, B, we know how to arrange it. So the ideas are already formulated. We don't need to, you know, to have someone come in from outside. But at the same time, I guess if we found the right person who we thought would definitely add something to it and would run alongside our ideas but be an external influence and enhance the music, then it would be a different thing, you know, it'd be worthwhile.
Yeah. Mick, is this the first production you've done?
The first LP as a whole, yeah.
And how did you find that? I mean, did you find it difficult?
Well, it's a name.
On the studio, yeah.
I had a map, I had a tube map, and I knew that the nearest tube was... We had, I don't know, it's just a name. Do you know, it's possibly something that we've been doing for ages anyway. You know, you compare each other's opinions on something and say, well, what do you think of that? Oh, I think the bass is a bit down. You know, it's just discussing the stuff. I mean, it just has a title of production now because that has become, you know, as Paul says, in some cases that has been overemphasised. A lot of chart records are all production and no content, you know.
Do you feel the records you've done before then, that you've kind of produced them yourself really, but there's just been somebody at the helm who's created the sounds that you needed?
I think in the past we've had producers and you could have cut out a lot of sort of time and just, I don't know, heartache.
Yeah, and I also think a lot of them are too safe as well because in some ways they're employed by the record company, even though it comes out of the artist's money at the end of the day, they're still employed by the record company. Right. So therefore they have to answer to the record company over and above the group or the artist in question.
And they're another person who can be blamed if people, you know, aren't particularly happy from a kind of commercial viewpoint or artistically. Whereas this way, we've got no one to blame but ourselves. Yeah. And there's no kind of scapegoat for the record company, really.
Okay, well, moving on to the LP, you've divided it into 2 sides. One called the piano compositions. Paintings, sorry. Why did you feel that you had to do that? Why didn't you just call it side A and side B?
Because I don't think it's important, however pretentious this sounds, I don't think it's important that people put on the first side or the second side because they're 2 totally different moods. You know, we've done a similar thing in the past, similar thing I guess with Café Bleu, the first LP, where if you fancy listening to more mellow or quieter music or more, you know, more pastoral sort of sound or whatever you want to call it, then you listen to the one side. If you wanted to hear something more up or more pop or whatever, you listen to the other, you know. Yeah. So I think, you know, we like the idea of that, and sometimes you just get those moods when you listen to records where you just want to hear quiet tracks, but you have to keep going over and skipping over the noisy ones. or vice versa, as the case may be.
Mm.
So we just made it more simpler for the consumer.
Right. The first song, Diving, seems to be about nostalgia in a way. Do you think nostalgia is a trap that people fall into, that people are constantly looking back instead of looking forward?
Yeah, but I think we're all guilty of that, because whenever we get pressurised or whenever we get down, we always think back to a happier time, or that's sort of like a natural human instinct, I think, really.
Mm.
But it is a trap. It can be a trap sometimes.
Is it sort of like an escapist kind of element in a way?
Yeah, sometimes it is, and sometimes it's destructive as well.
In what sense?
When you can't see any future, and all you can think about is the past, or you have that longing for the past, and you wish you could go back, and you wish you could turn back the clock, and it makes seeing any kind of way forward, positive way forward, more and more difficult.
Do those sort of feelings get stronger as you grow older? Do you think you could have written that song 5, 10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't have, because I didn't have the technique or the ability or the maturity or whatever.
Right.
But as an idea, I could have done. Yeah.
Oh, right.
I could have done when I was 10, I think.
Really? The story of another's shoe. You use the Swingle singers on there.
Story of someone's shoe, Bella.
Sorry, the story of someone's shoe.
Okay.
You used the Swingle singers on there. What attracted you to them? Was that your idea, Paul, for that?
Yeah, it came from. I thought it was a bit of a camp idea anyway, and it comes from an LP by the MJQ Modern Jazz Quartet, which they've done in collaboration with the Swingle singers, called Place Vendôme. And I just thought it'd be, a good idea. I mean, it's funny as well. I think it's.
Well, it's very contradictory to the lyrics, isn't it, in a way?
Yeah, which is. I mean, we've worked in that sort of area before. We had quite contrasting music to the lyrics, or vice versa.
Mm.
But I hasten to add, we don't ever really see any kind of dichotomy in that. There's no contradiction, I don't think. But I thought the idea would be, it's very style council in a sense, I suppose. Mm-hmm. To have such an absurd collaboration. Yeah. But I think it works well.
The lyrics themselves concerned with a one night stand between two people. You don't make any judgment within the song.
No, it's not a tale of morality. It's more just about loneliness.
Yeah.
And just the absurdity of the situation where you wake up next to a complete stranger, which in any other walk of life you'd never dream of doing. Being covered in some stranger's sweat, But that's the strange things we put ourselves through, unfortunately. You
see it more as a fable about loneliness rather than a kind of a thing. How do you feel about it in this era of AIDS?
I don't know. I don't have any kind of bearing on it, because I don't think you can make it a moral issue in some ways. Well, you can't. It's just a terrible thing that's happened to the planet. Yeah. And hopefully we'll find a way forward scientifically, but there's other terrible things that happen to this planet, which I don't know if we will find a way forward.
Such as what? I mean, what would you put on par with AIDS?
Nuclear annihilation, biological warfare, starvation, famine, any of those things, I think.
Moving on to the third song, Changing the Guard, which is a love song. You're still viewed in a way as this kind of, in a very stereotypical way, as a kind of angry political songwriter, and yet, especially with the Style Council, a lot of the songs that you've written are actual love songs. Do you feel that that's an aspect of your work that's been ignored, that people never see you within that light?
Yeah, I think it does get overlooked, but not just the sort of love songs we write, but lots of other different subject matter as well. But I think it's because the press have to find an easy tag to hang us on. And so you're either a political band, or you're, I don't know, a lovey-dovey band.
Ladies' man.
Yeah, or, And I don't know, I don't think you can look at our music in such black and white terms, because it covers such a wide spectrum. Not only, stylistically it does, in a musical sense, but lyrically as well, it's about lots of different things. And sometimes one lyric can mean lots of different things as well. So, I don't like it when people try and sum us up in a paragraph or a couple of sentences, it's belittling to us, and I think it's also belittling to the listener or the reader at the time as well,
Yeah.
because they might find something else in that piece of music. And I think it's unfair that you kind of colour their image of what it's going to be like. You know, I think the journalist or the media have a responsibility in that sense to leave it open to people.
Do you think? Would you agree with that, Mick?
Yeah, I do, but I also think from, you know, like Paul talking about personal applications to a song's lyrics is like a real part of people's growing up, or, you know, people of any age.
Mm-hmm.
They can think that a specific tune and its lyrics mean something to them, or they're about a place in time they were at a certain time. And I think that's a little bit of a danger with videos as well.
In what sense?
Well, they just, you know, once somebody has seen a video of a single, that is a sort of image that is imprinted on their mind about that. I'm not saying that songs that have come out since the video age, or whatever we want to call it, don't have personal sort of applications to people, and they mean certain things to them, but I think that's kind of spoilt it a little bit as well, videos.
So it's even like when you're talking about It's a Very Deep Sea, saying that the song seems to be about nostalgia.
Yeah.
Whereas I never even thought about it, but it could be, you know, you could interpret it that way.
My interpretation is that I think it's about learning from the past and going on from it. That's what I've always thought, but, you know.
And I think it's important to keep that openness in the music, you know.
Mm. But things like videos, the press, media don't help in that sense.
They don't always help. They don't. They kind of narrow down the appeal of certain things, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
They kind of constrict it, or almost apply rules to things without you even being aware of it.
Has that been a